Hello and welcome to the Cyber Weekly. The Cyber Weekly is a podcast which talks about cybersecurity with me, Deogratius, Okello, Angella, Nabbanja. Today, join me in welcoming George Njuguna. Apparently, I'm failing to respond. How do you pronounce that name? I don't want to butcher it.
Njuguna.
Njuguna. So I've done a good job. Yes. So, yes, George Juguna. George Juguna, I first met him during the ISACA conference of last year, Kampala. He was one of the speakers, and I was supposed to be the one who moderates that particular part of the event. And yes, that was the first time we actually met. So it is great to catch up with him, and then he talks about mentorship. He's a guy who has been in cyber ranges for quite some time, which is a strong pillar in terms of mentorship and also securing the infrastructure. Angela, do you have
Yes,
anything
Dale.
to say?
No, it's just an honor to host George. I'm looking at his LinkedIn banner. It has all these qualifications: CS, CSO, CDPO, CC, CLI, LA. So it's quite an honor to host you, and looking forward to learning so much from you in this session.
Thank you guys for having me. Looking forward to a successful conversation.
So, George, who is George, and what does your role as a mentor entail?
Okay, thank you so much, Dio and Angela, once again for having me. It's indeed an honor and a privilege to be hosted by you. So my name, as you already said, I am George Juguna, and I am a cybersecurity professional with a deep passion for building talent and systems that work not only for Kenya and organizations, but for Africa as a region. So as a cybersecurity mentor, I work with students, entry-level professionals, and the career shifts, maybe trying to help them navigate, not just the technical side of cybersecurity, but also the mindset shift and soft skills it takes to thrive in this particular field. Just being able to demystify the field and also opening doors that probably were once closed to many of us. So the reason I say mindset shift and also soft skills is because for the longest time, cybersecurity has been confused to doing ethical hacking, but I think it's beyond that. So I think even for us when we were in campus, we thought that getting into cybersecurity was probably doing cybersecurity or rather doing the hacking. But I think it takes more than that. It's beyond even doing the hacking bit of it, because hacking it's actually just a subset of the domain, because we have quite a number of diverse domains in cybersecurity. So basically, my role as a cyber mentor is just to provide that guidance, leadership, mentorship to students, recent grads, and career shifters, so that they can be able to find a place in the cybersecurity domain to be able to plug in and basically play a role in securing our digital space. So in a nutshell, that is what I will say my role as a cyber mentor is, and as a cybersecurity professional. Again, striving every day to build talent and a system that will work for the region.
So it's interesting that you say that when people think about cybersecurity, they think about hacking. Because when you mention that, I'm into cybersecurity, they'll ask you, can you hack my phone? Can you hack this account? And there's just so much to cybersecurity than that, but many people relate to what they know anyway. So you have been mentoring upcoming professionals in this field. How can we build strong, inclusive cybersecurity communities in East Africa? The one can connect professionals, students, researchers, and policymakers.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Angela, for that. First, I think we need to break down silos. So you see, you have that student working on a final year project. You have the government, probably officer doing some data policies, and probably a startup CTO or a chief technology officer probably struggling with compliance. They should be part and parcel of the conversation. So building an Africa or maybe a cybersecurity community for the East Africa or even for the Africa in general, it means building more public forums, cross-sector partnerships, and mentorship networks that are accessible. Not at least, but inclusive, not just about diversity, but intentional connection. So personally, what I have done as part of that, because I used to get a lot of requests from LinkedIn for people requesting me to be their mentors. So what I did, I came up with a platform where, because actually those connections were coming from Tanzania, Tunisia, Nigeria, quite a number of regions or countries from the region. So what I did, I thought of coming up with a platform, a unified platform, whereby we can bring everyone on board, whether they are students, they are recent graduates, or maybe career shifters. So I came up with a platform. We actually call it Africa Cyber Defenders, or ACD, where we normally say that we build one defender at a time. So we started off by having virtual meetings, probably having conversations. So I shared a survey or a questionnaire, getting to ask them what would they want to have me or maybe my network, bring on board in terms of ministering or rather sharing these insights. So they shared how to probably help them build their home labs, probably setting up basic cybersecurity labs and all that, some cybersecurity domains and all that. So we curated a list of all those topics, and every month I usually have a professional from the space, from the network that I have. So we usually have every a month a person coming to speak on a particular domain, whether it is on the technical bit or whether it is on the soft skill bit. Because again, we said that it is a combination of the technical skills, the soft skills, and also the mind shift. So that is what I am doing together with other professionals. So as a region, it will mean basically building more public forums, and we have cross sectors, whether it is a private sector, public sectors coming together, and of course, membership networks that are accessible, so that we are not limiting or leaving out maybe probably students because of things like maybe membership fees and all that. Maybe having a platform or a network that will be accessible by anyone, regardless of the region they come from. So whether it is someone from Uganda, whether it is someone from Zambia, or whichever region of the Africa, we don't leave anyone behind.
So you said you have the platform. What's the platform called?
So it's actually okay. So let me clarify. It's not like a software that we developed. It's actually the name of the community. Actually, the right word to use is the community. It's called the Africa Cyber Defenders. We have a LinkedIn page. We've not been up for some, or rather, we've not been up for long. I think it's been almost 7 to 8 months now. So, but doing the actual mentorship one-on-one, it's been there for some time, but we thought now, because the community is growing, to just come up with a community. So we are calling it the Africa Cyber Defenders.
Okay. We shall link it in the show notes.
Yes. Sure. So many stakeholders are talking about creating a Pan-African Cybersecurity Alliance. What does an ideal regional cybersecurity collaboration model look like when it comes to what obstacles must be overcome in order for you to actually create such a platform like the one of Africa Cyber Defenders?
Okay, thank you so much, Dio, for that question. So, can we have an ideal? Yes, we can have an ideal one. So, basically, the one that it's basically the one that is cooperative, meaning that maybe the different stakeholders will actually be willing to collaborate, but also grounded in local realities. It is not like one framework that will fit all kind approach. I can imagine probably a regional SAT, that is a computer emergency and response team, collaborating in real time. Nowadays, we're talking about threat intelligence. So you can imagine maybe a computer emergency and response team, a common one, maybe for Africa, collaborating and sharing the threat intelligence. Because, I mean, we have probably some of these cyber risks that are cutting across the region. So if we have like one that is a collaborative but also grounded in local realities and ensuring that it is supported by legal and a policy backbone that of course respect the sovereignty but also promotes trust. So I think that will be the best place to begin. In terms of the challenges or the obstacles, one is actually the political fragmentation and of course, lack of trust. And I think that is why organizations or professional bodies like ISACA will probably prioritize maybe call to action like building trust. And also another obstacle would be widely uneven capacity across the community. So you might have that, you might find that one region is actually more empowered in terms of having capacity, resources than the other. So the main obstacle will actually be that political fragmentation and lack of trust, and also uneven capacity across the region. But of course, with transparency and shared goals, especially around the digital trade and across the border protection, we can eventually maybe probably get there. So the obstacles will definitely be there, but if we have like a common vision, a common goal that we want to achieve, we can probably be able to overcome some of these obstacles. Things like political fragmentation, of course, they've been there, not only in the cybersecurity space, but also even when you talk about trades, we've had maybe states trying to bring, rather, to remove the barriers like the cross-border trades, like allowing for probably like in East Africa, community passport, having people freely getting in and out of the region without having the necessity to provide things like a visa. So even in cybersecurity, if at all we can be able to like have one vision and one goal to better protect the region, I think the obstacles should not be like showstoppers. They're actually something we can actually navigate and be able to build like an Pan-Africa alliances. Because again, it is not about a region, it's not about a country, it's not about a state. So cybersecurity can actually hit and affect any region, any industry, any individual. I mean, because we've seen that even we have the state, attacks. So if at all we can choose to come up with unified vision, one goal and one target, we can definitely overcome the obstacles.
Don't you think it's easier to do that when it comes to the vendors? Now, let's say different vendors who provide us these solutions. Do you think that it would be a very positive, or they can easily push the agenda easily because now they are working with many of these organizations, and then they are able to bring in this idea of having a unified SAT, or if you're having a unified team, or if there are threats, they can talk about them, stuff like that. Do you think that that would be like the ideal in terms of that?
Thank you, Dio, for that perspective. And yes, vendors could actually play a key role. But again, like we are saying, it's concerted effort. So it's not like one party doing it. So the vendors could actually work with, of course, the local stakeholders. Because again, for every region, we have the regulators. When you talk about the SATs, probably they are owned by the state in terms of maybe the authorities, the communication authorities in the particular region. So the vendors could actually play a critical role in probably driving this particular idea. But of course, they will also need the support and the backing of the other stakeholders like the government, the policymakers, and also some of these other stakeholders within the industry. So yes, I agree with you that the vendors can actually play, and they can actually play a critical role in actually driving this particular agenda, but they also need to get support from the relevant stakeholders and the local authorities in terms of driving this particular agenda. Because at the end of the day, you cannot be able to sell something or push an agenda without the stakeholders, first of all, having to appreciate the importance of it. So unless and until now the various stakeholders and the local supporters are able to appreciate this, then it can actually be easy to begin the conversation. So the role that the vendors can actually play is actually, even as they're doing business, as they're supplying some of these products and services, they could actually probably do a sensitization, or I'm pushing it out there, the need for the various teams and regions to collaborate and actually work together for a common agenda, and that is securing the regional cyberspace together.
Okay, so with information security, you find that it's often underfunded and misunderstood. What practical steps can East African institutions, particularly small and medium enterprises and public agencies, what steps can they take to build strong and effective InfoSec solutions and foundations?
Okay, thank you so much for that, Angie. Yeah, it's actually a good conversation to have, because recently, even the large enterprises never used to have this particular budget, because cybersecurity, actually, even from my experience, the biggest thing to actually do is to quantify the ROI for cybersecurity. Even reporting to the executive or the senior management, having to quantify the return on investment. For example, in an organization, if you have maybe salespeople or a different department, so it will be very easy for them to actually quantify the return on investment. So they'll say, if you invest in probably 1,000 or 5,000 USD as an investment, so in terms of returns, they can actually quote figures. But for cybersecurity, really, it's not like a return per se in terms of how much we'll get in the return, but in terms of cost reduction from maybe responding to incidents, penalties, and all that. So even for the large enterprises, it's been a bone of contention. But again, now with the increase of the threats, I think it's a conversation that is actually being adopted. So coming down or trickling down to the SMEs or smaller organizations, I think they have a place that they can begin. One is to build probably security baseline hygiene. So even in organization, we usually have what we call the cybersecurity baselines. Things like asset inventories, strong passwords, basic firewalls, regular updates could be a good starting point. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you cannot protect what you do not have. So them coming up with some baselines, like ensuring that they are inventorying their assets. Because again, if you do not know what you have, you cannot be able to know what to protect. So they could probably come up with baselines like inventorying all the assets they have. Because in cybersecurity, we usually say that the asset probably is actually anything that is of value to the organization. And then you have the vulnerability now being the weakness or a loophole for that particular asset. And now threat being now the opportunity to exploit that vulnerability. So if we could have a way of small organizations having a way to curate or map out the assets and inventory them, they do practice things like use of a strong passwords, basic firewalls, and regular updates that usually won't cost much. Even others like training people we normally say that a human error is still a biggest vulnerability, because even if we check some of the cybersecurity reports that have been released, you find that phishing is actually one of the leading cybersecurity threats. So investing in training people, that will actually go a long way, because people can actually be the strongest link or the weakest link. And I don't think that might require a lot of resources and budget for the small organizations to actually invest in that. Again, adopting open source tools. I think I'm a good fan or a big fan of open source tools, because they not only provide you with an opportunity to learn, but also they provide like free resources for you to be able to enhance your security posture. Because even in my early career, that is what I used to do, to implement, explore some of the free security solutions. Like from the monitoring point of view, we have from Greenbone Security, we have things like OSIM. We have also the ELK, the Elasticsearch banner, that can actually be used as a log management tool or as a SIM. So those are some of the open source tools that maybe small organizations can actually adopt, because they are fantastic, and of course they are low cost, that can serve the SME. And then also to partner locally, collaborate with local universities, cyber hubs, or even competitors who have shared the risk. We normally say that a shared risk is a shared responsibility, so they can probably use that to their advantage.
Thank you so much for that comprehensive answer. But also, I've now been very observant of, even when you enter a premise, most parts of East Africa, and you have to register in a book. Do you know how they are collecting all this personal identifiable information, but they're not steps of how anyone can access this book, right? So either people are lying, or organizations should also find a way of protecting this PII so that people can now be conversant to now tell them or to register with the right numbers. I don't know how many of you register with your real numbers in these books as you enter the buildings. Do you register with your real? Because there's just a.
I think I'm a culprit for that. I think I'm a culprit for that. I usually use some the very last digits. I don't use the real digits, because again, I don't have the assurance. I don't have the assurance that
this information is being
collecting
kept properly. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, may I want to dive in still into your answer concerning how to improve the structure for SMEs. Can we also look at areas of ensuring that they tie their improvement basing on first of all the quantification? Can't we use let's say the fines which are usually given if you've not performed to the standard? Because definitely you can't lie me that PCI DSS doesn't have fines for non-compliance or ISO 27001. Because still, again, you find that also organizations may not even be wanting to work with you if you are not compliant with those standards. Can we use that as a tool to implement some of these standards, right? Especially when it comes to the quantification, and also tying it in a way that it helps also improve the maturity of an organization
and reduce risk.
And reduce risk, of course, yeah, for sure. Thank you so much, Adio, and also Angie, for that perspective. Yeah, actually, cybersecurity frameworks are actually one of the best tools that any organization can actually leverage on. I work in a consultancy space, and I've had the privilege of working with so many organizations, different industries across different countries, region, Botswana, Zambia, Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya. And we've seen the benefit of the security framework. So the reason as to why I hadn't mentioned the security frameworks is, of course, because they usually come at a cost. unless maybe you are just using data just to map out some of the controls or a requirement that you can actually implement internally without going through the certification. But in terms of the importance, they're actually quite helpful because nowadays, apart from having the competitive advantage, having like an ISO certification or any other certification that you can actually show for it. Because actually, for PCI DSS, it's like a mandatory from the accepting card issuing merchants. It's actually an obligation that you need to ensure that the cardholder data is actually protected. And with the rise of the cyber breaches and some of the regulations like the cyber crime bills and everything, so we've seen the regulators swinging into action. And for every breach probably organization do have so we have seen even here in my region, the regulators are requiring the SMEs to actually comply with standard and frameworks like ISO 27001 to actually ensure that they have their security posture improved. So in terms of using the frameworks, they're actually quite helpful. So I think the best place to begin is to probably get to understand what these requirements or these frameworks entail. So I don't want to say the most basic one, but the most widely used one is ISO 27001. So of course, it has like the 6 requirements from clauses 4 to clause 10. It has the 93 controls, that is the Annex A controls, all the way from the organization in terms of having policies, segregation of duties, going to the physical security, monitoring people's controls, the HR security, from screening all the way to discipline issues and all that. And then eventually to the last cluster, which is on the technological control, threat intelligence and all that. So that can and is actually the best place for maybe SMEs to actually begin, get to understand what these requirements are and which one are actually applicable based on the threat profile. And actually, as you had rightly put it, and also what Angie was saying in terms of reducing the threats, because again, everything that we do in cybersecurity is actually aimed at either reducing the impact or the probability of the risk, or completely eradicating it. And so by leveraging some of these frameworks, organizations can actually significantly reduce some of these risks and actually improve their security posture. And there are actually quite a number of them. So I know for the ISO ones, they are actually maybe achievable at a cost, but we have like the free ones. I think we have the CIS controls, we have the NIST, we have, so for the PCI DSS, mostly this is for the card accepting, card issuing merchants, but there are quite a number. And also it depends with what you want to achieve. And there are those topic specific standards or frameworks like 2231 for the business continuity, 2771 for privacy, which is actually now is an issue, of course, with the rise of the data privacy and protection and data breaches. Of course, we have others like COVID from ISACA, we have ISO 20K for ITSM, that is IT service management. So basically, in a nutshell, frameworks or some of these standards would actually be a good place for these SMEs to actually begin in terms of maybe having a structured way of implementing some of these tools and controls. Because I can imagine for an organization that is not concerned about security, probably they're into production, they're into hospitality. So it might be quite a challenge for them to know where to begin. But if they have the policy, not the policy, sorry, if they have the frameworks or the standard, it will actually guide them like where to begin, which control to implement, how to actually follow it up, including monitoring, evaluation, and all that. So definitely that will be a good place or a good way to look at it. From the point where now the SMEs can actually leverage some of these policies and frameworks.
Yes. Now, when it comes to AI, obviously we've heard of AI everywhere nowadays. So, when it comes to cyber defense and how it's changing the landscape of cyber defense, because you would find many tools actually having it, how do you think it is going to impact the digital digital world as a whole?
Okay, thank you, Dio, for that. So AI is one of the emerging trends and technologies. Is actually a double-edged sword. It can actually be used on the defense, but it can also increase on the flip side. It can be actually a vector. So on the defensive side, it can actually be used to automate things like threat detection, anomaly spotting, incident response, and even coming closer home. When we talk about the endpoint protection. So previously, for those of us who have been in IT for some time, we used to use antiviruses. So we used to have the likes of Avast, Kaspersky's, Komodo, which other one?
Norton.
There was quite a number. You said, yes?
Norton.
Yeah,
Windows
Norton, yeah.
Defender.
Windows Defender, yeah. There were
Yeah.
quite a number that we used to use. But nowadays, now with the penetration of the emerging trends and technologies like the AI, ML, and all that, so we have seen the rise of AI-powered systems. So we are now talking about the EDR, the endpoint detection and response solutions. Like Microsoft Defender, we have CNET, we have quite a number of them. And in addition to that, we have now the XDR, the extended endpoint detection and response, now with the capability of not only protecting, sending alerts, but it has the capability of actually responding to a particular incident when you are away. For example, like most of us, we do probably 8 to 5, but of course, for those organizations that have invested in maybe the SOC, Security Operation Center, they usually have team probably monitoring on a 24/7 basis, so they can probably get visibility in terms of maybe the threats or the anomalies that might actually happen after the working hours. But for those organizations that probably don't have the capacity, so we are seeing the rise of AI-powered solutions or technologies coming in handy to actually be able to monitor and detect, not only monitoring and detect, but also responding to some of these incidences when probably now the responsible personnel are not on shift or something. So they can actually come in very handy in terms of, complementing what we, the security engineers, actually do. But again, on the flip side, we are saying that we are seeing the rise of AI-powered phishing, the deepfakes, the automated attacks. They're actually getting more sophisticated. Nowadays, I think we usually have ransomware as a service that you can actually go and purchase off the shelf, like a ransomware. Deepfakes and phishing. So it's actually nowadays hard to detect a real image from an AI generated one. So on the flip side, again, we are saying that they can be used to increase the threat actors and also the automated attacks. So what we need to do is to have a proactive regulation of AI and regional AI ethics and frameworks before the threats actually outpace our response. And that is why we are seeing the rise of this organization. Like we have the Global Council for Responsible Use of AI, where I play a key role as a global ambassador. So we are trying to push this so that we can have AI regulated or proper use of AI or a responsible use of AI, so that we don't have AI used, on the flip side to actually cause more troubles as opposed to having it used to our advantage in terms of complementing the efforts that we normally do to minimize the risks.
That's true. The ethical use of AI is a hot topic. I watched an interview of the godfather of AI. Was talking about how people didn't see it coming. The advancements are coming much faster than experts had predicted. So we could reach a point where the bots are actually more intelligent than us, or we can't control this thing that we have learned to enjoy and make our lives easier. So as as the rise of AI, machine learning, crypto mining have increased, has taken off, GPUs, graphical processing units, computing has become more critical. How can East Africans build affordable access to high performance computing in infrastructure for cybersecurity research and innovation?
Okay, thank you so much, Angie. Again, I would like to mention that again, it's a concerted effort, like a teamwork in terms of having pooled approach, maybe having shared research clusters across universities, data centers, or even co-owned by private and public entities. So, and also the government having incentives for public sector to build or lease maybe the GPU access. The cloud service providers as well can also play a big role. I think going by what Dio was actually giving us a perspective, the vendor. So the CSB, the cloud services providers, can actually play a big role in terms of if we negotiate local partnership that can prioritize affordability and data sovereignty. So I think with this, like all the stakeholders playing a role again towards a common goal or objective, we can actually get there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to digital trust, in Africa, the context where trust in digital systems can be low, how can blockchain be effectively used to enhance security, transparency, accountability, particularly in sectors like finance, elections, or supply chains?
Okay. In the African context, a blockchain's transparency and immutability, they're actually ideal for different environments where trust is actually fragile. Because again, with the digital transformation, the big question is actually the trust. So in elections, for example, it can actually be used to do the voter registration and also results verification. Speaking of which, I think I saw another video online. There was actually a young Kenyan from a different region in Kenya. They had actually used blockchain to come up with an election system. You can actually vote and get the results like real time. You can actually be able to monitor elections. And I think it was giving the trust that we are actually talking about. So in terms of transparency, so in election that can actually be used for the voter registration and result verification. In supply chains, it can actually authenticate, goods and combat fraud. But we must pair the tech with accessible interfaces and clear governance. Otherwise, it will be just trustless tech in a shared environment.
Trustless. That's an interesting term. So
I'm
could
not
you
sure
please?
that's correct.
It's there. Okay. But could you please share
Yeah.
with us any real world examples of pilot projects in East Africa where blockchain has been made useful? Apart from that, the simulation that the young Kenyan had done for elections, meaningful projects that have shown a difference in digital trusts for cybersecurity?
Yeah, I mean, since 2017, 18, 19, thereabout, we've seen a lot of task force being instituted to run with some of these emerging trends like blockchain. So like in Kenya, for example, the Ministry of Lands, they had piloted a blockchain to reduce the title deed fraud. I think it was being pioneered by Strathmore University. I need to confirm that, but there was a task force that was actually running with the reduction of the title deed fraud, because in Kenya, land is actually a thing. It was actually, let me quickly confirm, it was actually in 2018. So it was the Kenya Center for Intellectual Property and IT Law. So they were reporting to the Ministry of Land. They formed a 11-member task force to explore a single source of truth on the land registry. So they were using blockchain for that. So that was in 2018 in Kenya. Again, in Uganda, the government actually explored, I think it was a blockchain for pharmaceutical supply chains to tackle the counterfeit drugs. And so see that these projects are still young because, again, we are still adopting these technologies. So like we've not perfected in things like a blockchain, quantum computing, and all that. So they are still in the pilot early stages, but they show how blockchain can actually shift trust and public from the manual system and digital integrity. Even the example of the young Kenyan who had actually developed a voting system using the blockchain. It's actually in the pilot stage. So from the TikTok handle, he was actually demonstrating live how that can actually be done. And I think it's something that can actually be explored further so that the young developer or innovator can actually be supported, and that actually being used even at the national level to actually restore the trust, and especially when it comes to the election or some of these critical services, departments, ministries, where probably trust has actually been eroded based on the past issues that we've had, fraud cases and all that. So blockchain and even other emerging trends can actually be used to actually build trust and also bring about the digital integrity that we have all been looking forward to having.
That's true. And sorry, around last year, December, I attended a conference in Kigali for Trademark Africa, where they had also deployed a system that was using blockchain to enhance digital trust for cross-border trade, where goods will be tracked from seaports and inland ports until their destinations. So traders would know where their goods were, and also they would not be not changed. So it was, because it's immutable, you could see exactly where your goods were, at what point, same quantities. Also, traders would input tax invoices, so clearance was shorter and goods would get to their destination shorter. So the future of Africa is actually very bright.
For sure. I cannot agree more with you on that. Yeah.
So, in our final question before we wish you good night, could you tell us how do young professionals get this mentorship and access to practical hands-on training? Now, like the way you already have the Africa cyber defenders, hopefully I'm getting it right. How do they, get this hands-on training, and how do you implement it that people can easily receive this? Is basically, it's now a point of barrier. Now, let's say someone wants to get in. How do they, access these services, and how do they, connect to the community and all that? How does it work?
Yeah, thank you, Dio, for that. So I think the best place to begin will be now for the young professional to stop waiting for the perfect mentor and probably start building relationships through contribution, volunteer at events, ask good questions, and show up consistently. So sometimes you get approached by a person and then they tell you, I want you to be my mentor. And then you are like, okay, so have you sat down, figured out, understood like where you want to be, or how you would want for me to mentor in terms of investing that particular time to what it will take in terms of being mentored? Because again, it requires effort in terms of time. It's actually an investment. So I think as young people, sometimes we have maybe some idea of how this mentorship should be. So I think what I can say is that they should stop waiting for the perfect mentor and probably start building a relationship. I think apart from the Africa Cyber Defenders, I have had the opportunity to participate in some of the mentorship activities. Like currently, I'm being engaged as cybersecurity mentor for one of the hackathon organized by ISACA Abuja and also the Office of the Data Protection there. Again, I am serving as a mentor, cybersecurity mentor again for e-digital community, which is a Kenyan initiative. So last week, I think I was sharing some insight in terms of how probably the young people can actually benefit from the mentorship in terms of consistency. So I think that is what I usually say, because even in the profession, people do usually see what you do, and consistency actually plays a big role. So you are not only reaching out when it is convenient or when you need help. Like you do volunteer at events, you do ask questions, and of course you do show up consistently. For us as leaders, we must create intentional spaces. We have like structured programs, Discord groups. I think I've created quite a number, including WhatsApp channels, the knowledge hubs, and make it easy to find a community and guidance. So I think for me, I usually say we should normalize giving back and not just for scaling up. So I think that's what I can comment on mentorship. Because for me, I think I'm very big on that, giving back to the society and ensuring that I'm investing in the future generation, because I believe this is what, if I had the opportunity to have, probably I could be way ahead than I am in my career and also life in general.
Yeah. What are those? I think you've mentioned some of them, but maybe I didn't get them clearly. Maybe you could reiterate. What are those big trade-offs? Like, let's say a student comes in, maybe one of them you mentioned is the inconsistency. What are those things that you look out in a mentee and you'll be like, oh, no, this is not something which you see as someone who is going to, move far in their career?
Theo. You just write them off.
But in a good way. For me, I think I look at the attitude, because you need to have like a learning attitude, and also in terms of time investment. Because for me, it will also take a bit of my time, because I'm investing my time in you. So I find that there are those people who, so they probably have an idea of what they want, or yes, they have an idea of what they want, but they don't know how to get there. So that one I can actually help, because at least they have an idea. But for some, they actually saw you participating in another engagement, and then they're like, I think this is a good thing. I also want to jump in and see how this one goes. So they have not like, because you see, for me, life generally, I like being intentional. So if I want to do something, whether I'm mentoring, I'm being in a particular career space, or even in life spaces, I like being intentional. So for example, if I want to approach someone whom I look up to for them to be my mentor, I'll probably sit down, do like a plan, what I want to achieve, where I am currently at, and where I want to be. And then I get to see from my circles, or from the people I look up to, who like will be the best suited to help me in that particular career space. And then apart from now reaching out only when I need help, for me, I like cultivating relationships. Even if I'm not gaining something of it, I believe that people usually come to your life for a specific reason and season. So for me, I like cultivating relationships and partnerships. So probably out of that relationship and friendship, it will be easier for the person that I approach for them to actually accept my request to be my mentor. And the same way, it's supposed to actually be for the young professionals or the upcoming cyber professionals. So probably they want to be mentored, but they don't want to cultivate a relationship, because again, it needs to be a relationship. So it's not like a random person reaching out to you, asking you to be their mentor and all that. Well, that is not bad. A relationship, a mentorship that is built on again, trust and relationship will actually tend to work better, as opposed to like the random request. And in terms of consistency, showing that consistency, like you show up, like even when it's not convenient, I think I've had people approach me based on the stories they've had that cybersecurity is the in thing. I mean, it's the highest paying career and all that, and they want to get richer quickly. So you probably take them through the process and what it takes, and probably they don't want to pay the cost. So they want for them to show them how to hack a bank or hack, I don't know, get I don't know which $1 million, and then they are rich. But I mean, the profession needs to be operated from the ethical point of view, and of course, it's a process. It's not like a one-off event. You need to like pay the cost, be willing to show up even when you don't feel like it. And of course, you be willing to learn, to ask questions, and to do volunteer in some of the volunteer. For me, I think I do more volunteering than the actual. I think I do because I volunteer in so many spaces, and that is how I get to connect with a lot of people, get to give back, and also get to receive from the people that we are working with. Because again, mentorship is actually two-way traffic. I usually say that there is always something that you can learn, regardless whether it is from the person you are mentoring or the person that is mentoring you.
It's true.
Thank you for your service, George.
You're most welcome, Angie. You're most welcome.
Yeah, shared a lot of knowledge. You had to first take some water to replenish some of So, George, any parting shots for us? Where people can find you? How do people join Africa Cyber Defenders? All that.
Okay, thank you. So, parting shot, I can say that cybersecurity in Africa is not just about catching up. It's about redefining what secure, inclusive digital ecosystems looks like. So I say that we have the talent, we have the agency. Now we need to do the collaboration, and of course, the courage to lead and our own narrative. So I think that's what I'll say in terms of the parting shot. In terms of where you can get me or we can link up, so I think I'm usually very active on LinkedIn. So I go by the name George Njuguna. So you can drop me a connection invite and we can actually connect. So for the Africa Cyber Defenders, we also have a Facebook, not Facebook. We have a LinkedIn page. It's a community.
Scared. I was scared. Like, who still uses Facebook?
No. For the tech ones, we normally use the LinkedIn, of course, because it's professional platform. But also we have Discord channels and a WhatsApp channel. So we have a WhatsApp group, Discord channels, and also a LinkedIn. So I think probably I can share those links so that probably Andy or Adio can actually share with anyone that might be interested to be part of this particular journey.
Yes, surely. If you share them, even if you're sharing them right now, just add them to the show notes. The team will take it on them. They'll just add it. So yeah, that's it.
For sure, I'll be sure to share that.
Okay. So thank you, George. Yeah, Angela, you want to take it on?
No joke.
So thank you, George, for coming on the show. I've definitely learned a lot concerning, how do you create how do you become a better mentee? I wanted to know also where are my flaws as a mentee. Maybe I'm not consistent. So I really to confirm if I'm on the right track. So thank you for that. And then discussions concerning AI, concerning the different architectures or standards which you can usually base on in terms of cybersecurity. You looked at also the emerging trends, definitely AI, and how SMEs can actually effectively improve cybersecurity. And lastly, being a good mentor, which was the key theme of the episode, which you did a good job of explaining, and even you're still continuing doing a good job of encouraging the youth through the Africa Cyber Defenders, and also your work with the Isaka, Abuja, and also other areas, Nairobi, and all that. And that's really commendable. I remember when we were trying to set up this engagement, and you were telling me, man, I'm traveling to Nigeria to attend a mentorship program, which I was like, okay, this is interesting. So thank you for the job well done.
Yeah, and thank you. Thank you so much, Dio, and also Angie, for having me. So I must say that this is commendable, like having these episodes. It's what we need more of this so that we can have these conversations. And because probably there are maybe young people out there who might not be knowing where to begin, but probably when they stumble upon this particular episode, I get to see the various enriching conversations. Actually, when we engaged with Dio, that was last year during the ISACA Kampala conference. So I was impressed by the work that he's doing some of these episodes, and I've actually had the privilege of going through some of them on YouTube, and they are actually very enriching. So I think it's very commendable of you, the kind of work you're doing with Angie and the rest of the team, just to ensure that now we are in the information age and digital content age. So I think for the cyber professionals, the IT general professionals, this is one of the best probably episodes to be looking out on YouTube and probably consuming some of this content. Because for me, I am a professional, but I still find it very helpful. I think I was checking one from my colleagues in Coimet on CTS. There was another one from CISO. They're actually diverse, topics that are actually discussed, and I can say that it's actually very enriching. Because personally, I do learn quite a lot from them. So thank you so much for the good work that you're doing, and also having me come share some of this insight. I usually don't take it lightly. I think it's a huge honor and a privilege. So thank you so much for having me, and thank you so much for the good work that you're doing for the space and also for the region.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank
you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
When it reaches 75 episodes, you're like, wow, actually did this. It's like you tap yourself on the back and you're like, oh, first wake up. Oh, that's well done. You've really done a good job. So yes, so thank you, George, for that.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you for your time, for your kind words, and for your service still. Thank you, George.
You're welcome, and thank you to Angie.
Yes. For our listeners, be sure to check out the show notes. We're going to include each and everything which George has talked about in the show notes. And be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next episode.